attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and packs. I back up my actions, fact don't ask, grab reactions, jacked attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirsho here. And now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had the Horseman of War, Izuku Midoriya. We have seen how his life has been up till now. However, there is a simple fact that the other horsemen, they are out in the world. They exist. And let us cut to our second horseman, or the second one that I will introduce. We have Famine. Now, Famine is a very easy horseman. They embody, well, exactly what it sounds like. Starvation, and somewhat as if greed, you could say. Their abilities are quite simply more or less connected to the earth. Throughout manipulating plant life, they can choose whether or not basically the world can be prosperous, or there can be enough food for enough people. And this is going to be her story. Now, all of part 2 will be about her real quick. So, let us cut to her being born. Now, she is born simple. She was born into a family, a loving mother and a caring father. Right now, however, they were struggling for money. And her abilities, well, they're going to be far more useful to her family than she can ever imagine. As her dad is currently working on getting a business up and running. He has multiple ideas and things that he can do with it. However, it's a simple problem of money. People either will not invest in it, or quite simply will not give him the money to do and get his ideas off the ground. And it is very, very tough at the moment. Now, this girl, she does live her life. She does eat. And her mother do actually grow vegetables. At a very young age, she began to understand more and more about herself. Her father somewhat does at least go against the way things are, using his quirk. And then there is her. She immediately understood an ability. It's called monetary manipulation, or as you can now refer to it as money manipulation, basically. Her quirk allows her to manipulate currency. She can create coins made of gold, silver coins, or even diamonds and rubies. You name it. Objects worth tons and tons of money. And her father began to use this to his advantage. He only wanted to use her abilities to simply get enough money to basically get them out of their current predicaments. And luckily, it worked. Her father, he took money from a very shady looking man. And he was barely able to pay it back. He gave the man a diamond around the size of a baseball. And the man, after looking into it, found out that this thing was real. So, he just left the man alone. However, he was curious as to where he got this ability from. or where he even got this diamond from. It was found to be real. That was the thing that was weird. However, let's cut back over to her. Around the age of 4 years old. She is currently just out in the garden with her mother. She always did like this place. She always did like this area. Her father will go into the city and he will do business there. He will work there. Meanwhile, out on, well, their home land, or at least the acres of land they do own, she runs a small garden in the house. The help does try to actually get her to stop playing in the mud and actually clean up properly. However, she doesn't really like to do that. She just likes to stay out here and discover more things. In fact, she was able to discover more and more things. It was quite odd. She began to understand one thing. Whenever she was actually messing with a flower, as soon as she brought her hand up and grabbed it, it basically elongated and became very, very long, growing out in size and getting bigger. This shocked her mother, who immediately took her daughter to the Quirk doctor, since this abnormal ability was not a part of her quirk. Now, it was found that once again, there was a quirkless child. However, the weird mutations her body might have, quite possibly, might be because of something in her genome. And that, since they don't really have a lot of information about it right now, they just labeled this as her quirk, not knowing about the money thing. Now, with that being said, she begins to learn a bit more about it. And it gets interesting. She begins to understand that her ability, or her quirk as she calls it, is the ability to manipulate plant life. And, as far as she knows, creates currency. This was very strange and odd. And it was sort of weird. She can also, unknowingly, cause people to be very hungry and dehydrated. Learning this whenever she was a bit older. One day, whenever she was being taken care of by some of the staff, they all just got very thirsty. And they basically had to chug water in order to just try and stay hydrated. Until eventually someone did collapse and have to go to a hospital. It was found that they drank nearly almost half of a gallon of water. And in that entire sitting, they were simply just overhydrating themselves. Their mouths were dry and they felt parched, but they were hydrated. That was the thing that the doctors found peculiar about this person. And the Horseman of Famine. She just lived her life like this. People either being hungry, doing weird things around her, or her just trying to use her quirk to manipulate plants. She wants to be a plant-based hero. That's what she can try and do. And there was the day that she learned about more and more of her abilities. She disintegrated a plant whenever she touched it. And it was quite shocking. Now, she tried to explain this to her mother. And it was quite simple. Her mother thought that she might have the ability to break down and create matter. It does make sense. She breaks it down inside of her body and releases it as creations, or as money. So, what could she really do? Her daughter is this weird thing. And there was the day that Famine, she unlocked her embodiment. Now, one day she did wake up, and she was roughly around the age of 5 years old. Now, she woke up and found that quite a lot of people around her, well, they simply just stayed away. Anytime they got within a certain radius of her, they would quite simply just try and move, get out of her way, or stay just anywhere away from her, really. That's the best I can explain it. And she did not understand why, until she would walk out into the garden and see something surprising. Whenever she was talking with her mother, she began to understand it a bit better. She was not at the garden for 1 week, and the healthy-looking plants, as soon as she got within their vicinity, began to at least look worse for wear. The healthy green color turned to a yellow look after she was in there for about an hour, trying to take care of and actually make sure that the plants could survive. And her mother, she just looked very bad. She discovered that her mother looked malnourished, and she tried to take her inside to eat something. Eventually, after some time, an ambulance was called, and she was taken to the hospital, being found that she is suffering from signs of malnourishment and dehydration, unaware as to how this even happened, let alone what could have caused this. Now, Famine, she's still very weary about her abilities, not being able to understand a lot of them. And after her father did come to visit, it is found that he himself has a theory about his daughter. He believes that all these strange things about her, and her strange connection to the earth, might simply be because of one thing. She may not be his daughter. His wife may have cheated on him before. While he was busy doing all of this, his wife could have been doing something else. So he ran a DNA test. After finding that she was his biological daughter, he began to look into different avenues and discover a bit more about her abilities. Now, then there was the day that she showed off something that was just stranger and stranger. She began to fly. She was flying above her bed one day. She woke up and found this out, being able to use the plants in a vase to pull herself back down and make sure that no one found her. She began to catalog herself and try and make sure that her strange abilities would not be found out. As far as she knows, her dad, he's becoming a bit more, as she would put it, delusional. His quirk, her quirk, and her mother's, they're all different, and they don't add up. Her mother has an ability unlike her father's, and she has an ability unlike her own. Now, her father does have somewhat of a quirk, similar to her own. Then there was her. She did not have either of their quirks. So, why is she like this? Now, eventually, she did get actually put into a bit of therapy, or at least quirk counseling, beginning to meet other people and other kids around her age, learning a bit more about them. Whenever she explained that she can break down matter and basically turn it into plant life or other things, people began to take a notice to this. And she began to be able to control her abilities a bit better. Now, closing in on her 6th birthday, this is whenever she began to truly understand her abilities and try to weaponize them. She was able to create ginormous plants and make them rot, break them down, and understand everything. Along with that, she can basically pull moisture, as she would call it, from living organisms and plants. That is why they rot out so fast, just her being around something with water inside of it makes that water turn to vapor and begin to dissipate. That is one of her theories. And she just wants to look in on it more. Now, she is sitting on top of her home, and with a notebook, she's simply just beginning to try and draw. Understand this more. She's been having strange dreams. Dreams of something out there. Dreams of a place to go, a place to be. She feels lonely. Why? Why does she feel lonely? She wants to have a brother or a sister. Someone to be with. She just wants a friend. She wants someone who can understand her. Someone with strange abilities too. Now, as she is thinking this, you do actually cut back out to her. And her face. A very young looking girl, with long, dark hair. Sitting on top of a mansion. Her name? Momo Yayurozu. Understandably worried. She can manipulate plant life, and she believes regular life. But what does that truly mean to her? She can understand that her quirk would classify her as a villain, but she wants to try and be a hero. And it's somewhat tearing her up on the inside. Trying to understand what she is. As she looks out over her home, and she can somewhat see it. What would happen if she were to walk through the area? The green grass. How it would die. What would happen? What she could do. If she can truly one day control her powers, she can make a place where everyone can survive. A place where everyone can eat. She's been hungry before, and her father has worked hard for everything she has. But Momo, she just wants to control her abilities. Maybe if she can, well, make people dehydrated, then maybe she can actually make them hydrated. Make them feel healthy. Make them feel physically better. That's a thing she can do, right? Her abilities and her quirks might be harder to control, but one day she'll get a hold of it. She has to. Maybe then will they actually one day figure out what she is. Her quirks make her a freak. But even freaks need homes. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And as you might be able to tell, there's going to be 2 other parts talking about the other horsemen. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.